targeted against them 14 times out of 22 games. I wonder if that will continue. Swain, not really a high priority pick, but it is a very, very big comfort pick for Betsy.
Well, he is nerfed even more now on sticks 13. I don't consider him a very strong pick. I like this.
Is this 3 for 3 now, Malzahar? Towards ROCCAT?
Can both be targeted at mid lane and top lane. Malzahar top is actually a meta pick, especially over in Korea. It's been used quite a bit in the top lane. But ROCCAT with Parang, whenever he's played Gnar, he's actually done pretty well. So I'm a big fan of this ban. It's not a normal ban that you go for Gnar, but this is because you're blue side and you can target ban. And because Parang, when he's not been on Gnar, he's been playing weird, honestly almost useless things like Jace top and Echo top right now, which just doesn't work.
7 games of Echo top, 3 wins, 4 losses for Parang. And for G2 with Sivir banned away, and obviously the rising priority on Karma, and the fact Perks ran at mid yesterday. Instantly locked it in. It feels like there's no surprises in this pick ban because ROCCAT very quickly lock in Jhin and Rek'Sai.
And this is where G2 often saves the support pick for their last rotation, so they can still swap their Karma around and can potentially lock in something like the Tahm Kench. If they see a lot of single target DPS, ROCCAT has already picked the Jhin. Tahm Kench is one of the champions who can't deny this Jhin from taking down targets with his ulti, like these long-range pick compositions. The reason Rek'Sai is locked in as well is because when you have Jhin, Rek'Sai's Prey Seeker is absolutely fantastic at setting up snares, especially once you get to mid and late game, the very long-range abilities. If you lock in like an Azir for Betsy as well, you get one of these very long-range siege comps that I really like to see. They're very, very hard to execute properly, but when you do, they look fantastic. And if you have a good Jhin player, you can just snipe people left and right.
Well, Betsy has so heavily favored the victor. 9 games played.
I want Azir in this one.
Only 3 games of Azir. All of them are losses. We'll see if Betsy decides to go that direction. Slick-backed Sven will be playing Ashe. Lock that one in along with Gragas for Trick. So, has been played by Expect once in the top lane, but I am anticipating it going to the jungle.
Still, double flexing on the side of G2. Still a very solid composition. I think Ashe is such a fantastic AD carry. Her damage in the late game is great, and also your utility with the arrow is just so good against some of these more low mobility targets. Like, how does a Jhin get out of an Ashe arrow in lane? He can't. He gets it straight in his face, and you just go gank him straight away. Seems like ROCCAT does not want to commit fully to the siege comp, and I think actually it's a smart change. When you see Ashe Gragas, you're kind of like, oh, that's a lot of engage. Maybe we should not run pure siege. Instead, they are switching and aiming for more traditional team fighting composition.
Yeah, and I quite like the Thresh as well. Keep Raze in the back line, throw those lanterns out, and play the safety net, especially to back up the Jhin with his low mobility, and add some additional security blankets for him. But now, what does Parang run in the top lane as G2 are about to round out their composition?
I would like to see Shen, so I think you should lock in Shen, and then you can actually play 1-3-1 with this. It does open up for Parang to run. No, because Gnar is actually taken away. Trundle is also taken away. So they've removed a lot of the Shen counters. Irelia into Shen can work, but it's a tricky one. He instead is running the Lissandra. So ROCCAT is playing a mix of a whole lot of things. There is hard engage top now. You have obviously your team fighting mage in the mid, and then your long range sniper in the Jhin. So there's an element of hard engage, but actually not that much backline dive. Obviously, if Vladimir gets proper positioning with Ghost, he can get to that backline, which is great. But this is going to be a lot on Parang and how he sets up TP flanks.
It's going to be a lot of challenge for Betsy, because he's got to get through Shen, got to get through Gragas, got to get through Karma. You've only got so many tools to dodge skill shots with.
Yeah, and we got to keep in mind here, G2 is running a bit like the same kind of composition Vitality did in the last game, where it's 1-3-1 based with the Ryze always going to side lane. And the best way to shut down 1-3-1 split pushing is that you hit it in the setup. You hit it before they get to push all 3 lanes at the same time, and you are pushed all the way back to your tier 2 towers. No, you engage much before that. When you have these wards in the river, you can TP on as a Lissandra. So it's really on Parang.
And if there's one thing that G2 will most likely not fall prey to is being engaged on first. This is a team that likes to play proactive.
They do.
For better or worse, they like to play forward.
Not as bad as last split, of getting caught out. Except for Perks, who actually gets caught out a lot.
Well, your team comps are going to flash on your screen in a second. Expect and Parang, the 2 import top laners, both playing champions for the second time. Each of them 1 game on Shen and Lissandra respectively. Each of them losses as well. So let's see how the players have grown and adapted as the meta has shifted around them. And for ROCCAT, this is about playing spoiler as well as getting a lifeline. If ROCCAT can pick up points here, they can try to climb up in the seedings for promotion and get to within touching distance of a promo tournament, of getting out of promo tournament, but the likelihood is so low.
And I'm skeptical here, Trevor,
Of
the Lissandra pick. Because Lissandra will never kill the Shen. But again, laning phase is not always about killing people, it's actually about just pushing very often, having control of the lane, and therefore having the pressure in the lane. Lissandra should be able to push the Shen, but you're gonna need the Rek'Sai to join as well if you wanna dive that Shen on the tower. And the problem now for Lissandra is that she's so focused around TP flanking. Against double TP and even triple technically, because Shen offers 2, it can be very hard for Parang to actually pick off these targets. Like, in many ways, ROCCAT is like a mix of a team fighting and a pick composition. You have the long range pick with like the Jhin and then the TP coming in from like Lissandra and even Thresh, which is like very often a support who works well in these pick comps. But then also you got the Vladimir for more like team fighting power.
Thing is that it kind of is similar for G2 as well.
Well, G2 is a 1-3-1 comp. Yeah. Like, that's what it is. It's a 1-3-1 comp. Obviously, there's a lot of tools for them to pick off targets. As you highlight, Ash Arrow, Snare from Ryze, Body Slam, Flash from Gragas. Like, there's a lot of ways for G2 to force these picks. And that is why if ROCCAT are losing the early game and they get pushed back on the map, you're not safe anywhere. Like, you're trying to defend a tower, Ash Arrow in your face straight away. You instantly get dived by Shen Ryze, and there's nothing you can do. So G2 can really snowball this game out of control, but I feel like on ROCCAT's side, even if they get a great start, it's more to force G2 to the team fight, which would be good for ROCCAT, than to actually like snowball out of control completely.
All right, so team fights. That's what ROCCAT's going to look for. Spect gets rooted. Played backwards. A lot of damage going down. Ignite out as well. Flashes away. I don't think it's enough damage to kill him.
No.
So throws out the summoner. Not the end of the world.
Get this there. Respect Flash. He didn't want to risk like the Jhin potentially flashing after him and landing that auto attack, and you then flash slightly later, and the auto attack flies in the air and kills you anyway. So to get a flash, a little bit greedy play from Expect in the start, but it doesn't change a whole lot of how they want to play the swap. It's still TPing to top, TP to bot lane for Parang, both top laners mirroring each other. Again, getting that extra second, the minion stays alive, yay, the value. But we get another swap. I always look at first dragon in lane swaps, okay? Because if you're ahead in tempo, once you swap back to the bottom side and take that tier 1 tower, you can often take first dragon. When it is Cloud Drake, it actually is not that useful. You'd rather stay even in experience and farm them. If it's Infernal Drake, you often see teams go for it.
Yes, definitely way more valuable in terms of the stats it provides later in the game. For now though, traditional lane swap, actually fan vote, not as heavily in favor of G2. ROCCAT fans jumping out to represent. But it's a very difficult situation. Perkz burning through his mana pool. It's a number of overloads and rune prisons in Betsy's face, and the towers will be traded within a few seconds. No real big advantages, although saying that, Sven and Mithy are already halfway towards lane, so this will give a good few seconds to G2.
Ashe is a really good AD carry in lane swaps because you can stack up your Q
Rangers focus.
Yeah, your Rangers focus, thank you.
Got you.
On the minions, and then activate it and actually use it on towers. You just can't stack it on towers anymore. There's one change that happened quite some time ago. So she's actually very good at fast pushing down these turrets, and then obviously be able to recall a bit earlier. So it is a tempo advantage for G2. Again, this is where we could see a dragon being taken, but in this case, not really. They're just gonna push him for next tower, and all that matters is you deny 4-5 CS from Parang. He's now slightly down in experience. Will get the blue buff though, and good little trade of Betsy getting on the tower here. That's
trying to just interrupt that recall by a few extra seconds. Thing is though, Perkz has teleport, so he can just come back to lane very, very quickly.
He will, and that's why Betsy's trying so hard to push this out, because he knows that once Perkz returns to lane, Perkz wants to look to just permanent push the wave. If Betsy had stayed, he would just permanent push the wave, because then when Betsy finally had to recall, he would always lose a full wave under his tower, and allowing Perkz even to potentially get a second recall off, or maybe look to go to a side lane. And that's where Betsy could have fallen slightly behind. That's the thing about playing against TP laners. But Betsy was able to just constantly push the wave and actually recall in a good spot, and therefore he's gonna be fine.
Yeah. We just saw the hawk shot flying out. A lot of information actually gained from that.
I love it when it shows you like all the camps.
Yeah, exactly. Showing those timers resetting on the minimap, giving G2 all of the information uploaded. Also, props to the observers, highlighting Parang walking over that ward in the top lane a few seconds ago. Because the moment, the duos of Steelback and Raze, the moment they showed, allows G2 to back away, and that's what gives Expect the small advantage in levels in CS.
One thing I noticed about ROCCAT in swaps now is that they spend a lot of time actually auto-attacking minions. And in lane swaps, you want to use almost every single auto-attack on the tower itself, and you use abilities to kill the minions and get them low. But they were standing behind the tower, actually just auto-attacking, 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 where G2 is not doing the same. And that's one of the reasons G2 are faster taking down the objective. As we talked about, because it's Cloud Drake, it doesn't matter in this case, and they're just going to swap around again. But once again, you get a massive tempo advantage for G2. They're at the tier 2 tower now with the dual lane, and ROCCAT just recall. And one of the reasons is the fact that you keep auto-attacking on minions instead of towers.
So when you know Dragon is lower on your priority list, you're looking for the Deficio 6-step plan.
Or
What objective are we identifying here?
Well, so that it doesn't work this early in the game. Like the 6-step plan is once you start actually split pushing. That's where we pull it in. But I
didn't know that there was clarifiers now.
Right, yeah.
Before we started the plan.
No, you can't always.
So what's the checklist that I need to look for before I'm allowed to ask you about it again?
I mean, just wait until we get Rod of Ages on the rise, and then we can go back to our checklist.
Okay, right.
Because then he's going to go to the side lane, and we get our 1-3-1 set up.
Okay. Writing this down. Roa, side lane rise.
You put that down, and with the lane swap here, G2 gets very open lanes to play around. Lissandra, while she's good at like setting up ganks, in these very long lanes, because she can't burst anything, it's actually very easy to catch her and put her under pressure as well. So, you're going to one-shot the Shen. Nope. He's not going to build early MRs, and then he's never going to die against Lissandra. And it's all about team fighting now for Parang. It's all about TP flanking in. He needs a fantastic performance if he wants this Lissandra to work.
Right, fantastic teleports. Looking at the warding, there's a couple wards in the red buff area of ROCCAT's jungle. So if G2 make the mistake of sticking around, there could be support coming in from the south, but of course the pressure's on the lane with teleport, so therefore ROCCAT cannot actually get out of that place.
And we have to look at this situation now where G2 is pushing in against Parang. They can actually set up a dive with Shen TP. There's a ward behind Parang. If they decide to use the TP from Shen, that's an instant kill onto Parang. The reason they don't do it right now is because they're getting free farm on Expect. It's only right now Steelback sitting in the bottom lane. Now he's going to be joined by Raze. Once they see multiple members, G2 can then say, okay, now we can actually go for that dive, because we have the TP advantage. If you stay on the tower and you allow the other top lane to do it, you might die and then lose tower for it. But in this situation, they're getting free farm and Expect, so they don't have to.
Trick is playing slightly aggressive. This is the strong side of the jungle for ROCCAT. Oh, and Trick even smites his red buff on the strong side for ROCCAT.
But there's no pressure right now from ROCCAT. They were so slow at pushing down that wave. G2 didn't have to make any aggressive plays. They could literally just sit and wait for the wave for their Shen and just let him farm. Let him farm everything he wants. Because ROCCAT never committed to fully pushing in with 3 members and actually applying pressure on Expect. Look at this big wave, he's freezing. And because, again, of the Dragon, they don't care about losing the river right now on the bottom side. So this is heaven right now for Expect.
Great position to be in, and it's going to allow G2 to go into this mid-game very comfortable. They're trading fairly evenly across the board. However, Steelback is down some CS, thanks to the fact that Sven and Methi have just been quicker in terms of the lane swap decision-making.
And now I want to see if G2 wants to actually push out this bottom lane after this freeze is over, and then use the Shen to always receive the waves that Lissandra is pushing down. In this case now, because they're freezing, it actually means Perkz is going much earlier to the side lane than normal. He's not level 9, he doesn't have Rod of Ages yet, but because you have a free lane coming, he might as well go receive it and take the full solo experience, and you just keep your Ashe in mid lane now. So it's a very early transition into side lanes from G2, but it's to catch waves and not actually to push. You are freezing the bottom lane still. Betsy's coming down now to try and push it all the way out, and Expect has been getting a lot of nice, juicy farming.
Yeah, 46 CS at the moment, level 6, Stand United available. And
they're gonna gank Betsy.
Top lane.
Look at Mythic coming down here. Betsy is really far out. Trick is on his way as well.
Ghost and Flash available. It's going to be difficult to stick to a Vladimir. There's no real there's not a lot of damage coming, but 3 members should always be able to do something.
But again, because they could swap perks so quickly, they still have pressure on that top lane because they got Shen ulti now. Expect he's not full enough or high enough HP to actually make the play. And because he can still freeze, he's just like, we're fine, we're just gonna keep freezing. We don't need to. They're gonna like kill Parang up here or pressure him off tower multiple times.
This is actually perfectly fine for G2 because as we mentioned, we expect as a team, they are better than ROCCAT. Individually, they are better than ROCCAT. Their team composition has more options available.
They arrow top lane here.
As this game goes.
Mid lane, go mid lane instead.
Okay.
Okay, miss it too.
Yeah, point blank.
Warning shot.
Not quite sure what that was, but yeah, Arrow didn't find his target. And yeah, as I was getting back to, for G2, no risks. Don't give ROCCAT the opportunity to punish, and then just play more decisive and more controlled in the mid game.
And this rotation was so good from G2 sending Perks to that lane because Perks is much higher level than the Lissandra who's been in a lane swap. So he had full kill pressure in that lane, and he just pushed Parang back to his tower. Got a lot of free damage on it, could always threaten him, and in case someone tried to gank him, he had Shen ulti available to help him. So that was just a really good move on the map from G2. Small things give small advantages, can always become much more. Because they were setting themselves up for success, and there was really nothing ROCCAT could do in return. Because how are you going to TP flank or TP gank if you're pushed down to your tower? Tell me, Trevor.
You can't. That's the point you're trying to get to here.
Problem here, man.
G2 have farmed themselves up a 1,200 gold advantage. Just small steps across multiple lanes.
Now we get
Rod of Ages. Rod of Ages. Yeah, we're getting closer. We're getting closer to the 6-step plan becoming activated. It's going to be fun. And for Expect, he picked up that Spirit Visage, so it doesn't matter who he's going to be looking at in one of those side lanes. He's now, I mean, he wasn't really going to be a threat anyway, but this just makes it even more comfortable for Expect to sit in a side lane, press R when needed. He's farmed up a 50 CS lead on the parade.
Yeah, and if you are ROCCAT, people might wonder, why is ROCCAT not trying to do anything? Why didn't they push in that bot lane? Why don't they maybe try and go gank the Rise with the Lissandra and multiple members? Well, the thing is, right now, at least 2 of your lanes are constantly pushed to your tower. So if you ever leave those lanes to go gank, you're going to lose that tower, most likely. Or it's going to be so predictable you're moving that the other team is going to follow you and just take the fight. So there's Shen ulti to buy time with the Rise. They're going to try and gank Perks now, but look at mid lane getting pushed in again.
Well, Perks is doing a Perks. Overextended. The rest of GT's pushing up. Perks actually, did he cancel that one? I think that he did. May have been interrupted anyway, but First Blood picked up by ROCCAT in a few seconds' time. Perks is running for his life. Flashed away to safety. Tides of Blood just out of range. The rest of G2, they're gonna get a Cloud Drake in exchange for First Blood.
So that's a trade-off here if you are G2. It's a good little sneak around from ROCCAT with both Betsy and Airwax, but G2 very quickly made the decision. Just take objective on the bottom side. Yeah. We don't need anything else to take objective on bottom side. Sadly, again, for them, they don't get too much value out of it. Could actually get more value now if we get the second one as well, then it becomes a bit more impactful, but these are the kind of situations where you go for that one kill, but you always lose something else because you push back on at minimum 2 lanes. I actually wonder if we just saw Expect instant ulti on Perks there. I'm pretty sure G2 could have turned that around.
Yeah.
Or at least allowed the Rise to stay alive and let him walk away. But I think Parang was a little bit too close to Expect and could have stopped his recall or stopped his TP.
And just another time that Perks is slightly over-aggressive. If you look at the Ring of Vision that is still littered by ROCCAT, didn't have the ability to push out that far.
Well, the thing is, he wasn't even overextended specifically. He was like at the river. Yeah. But the entire top side was warded up by ROCCAT. As soon as he sees Betsy, he knows more people are coming, and Expect is not using his ulti. So Perks tries to TP out, but again, new TP, 1 extra second. Doesn't work that way anymore, and he ends up going down. And they just get a Cloud Drake. So they still get something. They still have the pressure, and a setback.
Minor setback, I think. Tripping over a small hurdle. Finding CS. It actually closes the goal difference for ROCCAT by a couple hundred. Gives a little bit of breathing room to the rest of the ROCCAT members.
Oh, we get a new support item. A new old support item. Raze actually upgrading to the Ruby Sidestone, and the reason he's going for it now is because on this patch, it gives you 20% CDR to your active items. So the cooldown on those goes down by 20%, which is quite impactful if you build something like ROCCAT, Mikhails, these kind of items right after. I normally prefer just getting the standard upgrades, where you combine your gold per 10 with your Sidestone, because otherwise it's a lot of gold invested into it, but you might just leave this Relic Shield very low down and then actually go for a more impactful item. Like against a Ryze, Karma, Gragas, there's always room for a ROCCAT. Mikhails versus Shen Taunt, Ryze, Rune Prison.
Ash
always
Arrow.
room for it. Ash Arrow, yeah, Mikhails would definitely be a valuable pickup for Raze, so we should assume he's building towards that with this Sidestone upgrade as well.
So it's like investment. Doesn't pay off right now, but eventually, if ROCCAT survive long enough, then obviously we're going to get some additional value out of those itemization. Perks is in a little bit of pressure there from Betsy. Uses that desperate power to get the movement speed and run away. And now Betsy is still continuing to push out the bottom lane. Perks with TP is matching him. And Expect with TP is now going up to match Parag.
Yeah, but this is not a great lane for Betsy anymore to be in. While again, Betsy will rarely die 1v1. Because he builds Spirit Visage first, it's just so hard for him to do a whole lot, and he doesn't have teleport, so it's just a matter of time before G2 makes a play. I think there's one criticism for G2 in this game, and I don't think it's a big thing, is they could have been more active with the Shen.
Yeah.
But because they've been getting free farm in these side lanes and getting the advantage that way, you see Ryze is winning in farm in this one, Shen is winning in farm. There's actually been no reason to force that play. Ash Arrow onto a Jhin as well in lane, into a Gragas Body Slam is something you can use to force fights if you want to play more aggressive. But I think they're honestly saying don't risk anything.
I'm not terribly against the more passive play. For a team that has had a couple of games and a couple of decisions that have been fairly reckless over the last few weeks. You know, maybe they've come into this. They dropped the game to Giants yesterday, and that was quite unexpected. So you could theorize that maybe coming into this game, play a little calmer, more collected, safer. Trick actually
Good push.
a little bit of pressure, not going to be able to get taken out though. And the tower gets dropped very, very low as ROCCAT respond.
But this is just where you play that game where you chip damage on towers.
Yeah.
Like, just a little bit of damage every single time. Eventually it goes down, and the other team gets no chance of actually doing anything. Parang is obviously on this Lissandra. I haven't seen any TP plays because he's been in the lane swap for almost the entire game. And right now, it gets harder and harder for him to do anything, because once you start getting QSS and other MR items in, then Lissandra just has no damage. Going in though.
He's going to flash forward. Sven flashes backwards. Hemoplague is up. Sand United being channeled by Expect. The tower falls as the fight breaks out. Teleport will finish here from Perks. Can they get some kills? ROCCAT have peeled away. A lot was thrown in the fight, but it's G2 that get the tower.
Great ulti from Trick in that fight. He stopped Steelback while he was sitting there firing his ulti at G2, but no one goes down. Very close in the end. And then suddenly Perks kind of TPs in a little bit late and ended up just using it to scare ROCCAT off. But honestly, it's a game, Trevor, where action-wise, we're missing.
We're on the lower count. We're on the lower count.
We're on the lower count, that's true.
There's a sense of reserved calm from G2. The thing is, though, these team fights, the team fight, singular, that will happen, that will determine the game.
Did you ever,
It's going to be very big and crazy.
Did you ever watch the movie Alexander, about Alexander the Great?
So I know about him, but I don't think I've watched the movie you're thinking about.
Okay, so that movie was pretty hyped up because obviously the story is fantastic.
How long ago was it?
It's quite some years ago, but Alexander the Great, obviously a fantastic general, great story. The movie had like one big battle, and you got super hyped for that one big battle. But before that and after that, you had basically almost an hour of just nothing. Like talking, walking around the mountains and kind of looking around.
Building the tension.
Building the tension. A bit like this game, you know, we're slowly building the tension with that one big epic battle.
The question is, was the battle epic because it was a good
It was
battle?
really epic. It was really epic.
But hear me out. Was it really a good battle? Or was it just because you had an hour of tension build-up? You know, like when you're hungry, any food you eat when you're hungry tastes better.
I'm gonna say both.
Okay.
It was really well made. It was a super interesting battle. But It was also because you really needed something to happen.
Okay.
And they were setting up for it. So there was a great one, and then there was like a super small one later with an elephant, and that was kind of the highlight of the movie, sadly. So it got really bad reviews.
Okay.
Sad.
But you loved it though, right?
Well, I loved the history part of it.
Okay.
It's a good story.
Right, so you enjoyed all the build-up and the conjecture.
Actually, no, because the build-up was like drama almost.
You're not selling this film to me.
I don't want you to watch the film. I was hoping you had watched already, because this game is that movie.
Okay, all right. Well, I hope the team fight that you've promised then actually comes.
gonna
The
be
next
epic.
Dragon, Ocean. Thank you, graphics team, for highlighting that one. A little bit more worthwhile here for G2. Get some of that sustained because a lot of combat. And if G2 wants to start setting up for the Baron bait, you can see some invading into the jungle, placing some wards. No teleport for Perks though, so that'll be a couple minutes away before he's able to get involved.
But we kind of following the steps now, right? Because
Oh,
G2,
six step?
Yeah, G2 are constantly pushing a lane. They're saying, okay, right now we play topside. That's our objective. We have identified it. We have now swapped the lane. So your TP user is on the opposite side of the map of the objective, which is topside. They push out
assigned lanes accordingly.
Again, that's assigned lanes. They set up the vision in enemy jungle. Go back, you push it out once again. You can look at Sven. Perks now getting attacked by Betsy, but his Shen ulti.
Dan
Sure Betsy, what are you
United,
doing?
Prison, the teleport's late from Parang. Hemo plays will hurt Perks a little. Taunt, flash, Betsy's in trouble. It's gonna get a heal though from the transfusion. I think the Hemo plague too. Perks was locked down. Ash Arrow from behind. Sven takes down Betsy with the help of G2. Parang follows. Airwax is caught out. The volley comes down and Sven joins the fight. Curtain call needs to be body blocked. Mithy's in trouble. One more shot may take him down. Body blocked by Sven though. And G2 get two.
Way too greedy by Betsy. One thing to always remember is the Shen ulti is much faster when it comes to the channel time compared to a teleport from Parang. So when Betsy charges forward, tries to fight Perks, well, suddenly Expect shows up a bit earlier than Parang. Betsy has to flash away, did baiting with the heal from his ulti, but you still lose the fight. This was not the epic battle just yet, but at least we get some fighting. This is actually a poor play from Betsy because he's chasing against this Ryze here with very little vision in his own jungle and against Shen ulti. Look how fast Expect is here compared to Parang with the channel time. Okay, the Vladimir ulti baits Expect with the damage, but now you are out of damage. Parang ulti is onto Perks and did nothing. And Jhin is not even here yet because Jhin has a hard time running straight through that jungle, so ROCCAT can't move, and this is again why you have these multiple steps. The objective for G2 was secure top side. They managed to do that. They put Shen on the opposite side because he could TP in. Ryze could not. They constantly pushed the waves, set up vision, and then they could execute. As soon as Betsy stepped forward, another thing, Proto build on Vladimir is actually not that great anymore because he's also been nerfed a little bit, Proto build. You can no longer charge it up and then like dash forward with your abilities, so we can actually just stop them. And even before that, I think a lot of Vladimir players stopped just building it and actually just went Rylai's Spirit Visage.
The Sunfire Spirit Visage Shen is dealing more damage than Lissandra and Vladimir combined. You have problems if you're ROCCAT.
Slow and steady wins the race.
And destroys the base.
And destroys the base. Probably you also get an ace somewhere. Not necessarily.
Yeah,
not necessarily.
that rhyme was a little bit in quotation.
Yeah.
G2 gonna peel away. Death Sentence finds nobody, but the Unburrow from Airwax does. Curtain Call dealing a lot of damage, but I just feel like this is tickets for ROCCAT. Perks trades his life for Parangs, 1-for-1. Sven still full HP. Volley goes down into Betsy. Exhaust will block out some of Vlad's damage. Another volley tags and slows Airwax on the retreat. Expects trying to run him down. Can't get past Steel back though. Body slam, barrel finish. Trick takes out Raze. It's a 1-for-3.
A big battle in the jungle here. ROCCAT this time around got a better engage, but they're simply right now just lacking damage.
Did Steelback steal that? Yeah, I think he did.
Did he?
Yeah, he did. The Deadly Flourish stole red buff just at the end. Not that it matters.
Well, let's see if we can use the red buff to steal the Baron, because it might be the only way back in the game for ROCCAT. Airwax is here too.
Smite is available. G2 should have bursting potential. Don't make the same mistakes you've already seen today. 3,000 hit points on
Expect
Baron.
needs to taunt Airwax just before this Baron goes down, and then he can't tunnel over.
Perks coming in from behind.
Oh,
Feels
you're not
like
sending your eyes.
G2 are slowing down the Baron.
Just
now
finish
they
it
can
now.
turn and peel. Airwax decides to not try the hero play. They're easily, safely secured by G2.
Clean.
Get a great lead.
Clean. G2 is in absolute control. This was one of the chances for ROCCAT getting a big team fight in the jungle, where Betsy gets in the middle of everyone. Even Silva gets to take down Perks, but they're already traded 1-for-1, and now Expect and Trick are very tanky. And while Betsy gets to the back line, Mithy is there with Exhaust, stops Betsy from doing anything, and with this Spirit Visage Proto build, his damage is actually not very great. So he set himself a bit behind. Still, Exhaust means there's very little he can do. Now we get the QSS coming in. We have Locket completed from Trick. Suddenly, Lissandra will not have any proper targets.
No, none whatsoever. Mithy as well. Sven as well. Picked up that execution is falling. Going to do a lot of work. That's all the healing ROCCAT have down. Actually, ROCCAT is starting this Dragon. Teleport being channeled from Expect. He's going to jump into the pit. 2,000 HP. G2 say no. This is our Dragon. Trick's looking for a target. Body slams away. Look at Steelback's positioning. He runs the risk of getting caught out. Early smite from Airwax. Jin throws down the curtain call. Sven, Hemoplate, he's in trouble. Betsy may be able to kill him. The Dragon was secured for Sven's life, and Parang gets taken down after. Ray's caught in the middle of the box, gets a flay. Perks, though, gets a double kill. 1 for 2 and Dragon.
So Betsy again managing to get to the backline, sneaks his way in every single time with the Ghost. One of the reasons it's such a good summoner spell for him, but he managed to take down one, and then he can look back and see 2 dead team members lying in the river. And G2 are just winning every single fight. They set everything up by playing the 1-3-1, but then they collapse into fights.
You know, at the end of every game, we have to vote for who we think is the player of the game. Can we just vote for the team? For like a team logo? Because, you know, G2 have just...
Why don't we vote for a coach, maybe?
Oh, we did that once before.
Yeah,
it didn't go very well.
People would love that.
It didn't go very well. Next week is Coaches Week, so we'll do it then, maybe. Rock the vote.
All right, so to get the Dragon, and now like Betsy with Ghost and Proto can get to the back line, but Parang in this situation is not able to really follow in with Betsy properly. Ends up ulting himself, and then now they're very split up and 2 members die. You need that Vladimir-Lissandra combination to really work together, and you just one-shot someone like Sven in the start of the fight. He doesn't have flash for the next one. That could be an opening for ROCCAT, Trevor. We've been getting some fights now.
Yeah, we have. It's not quite the epic one that you promised, but I'm willing to forgive that. I'm willing to overlook that.
It would have been a weird game if we only got like one big team fight.
At Baron, and then
and then the game would be over. So.
Actually, I've seen them more times than I would like to.
Okay, well, they're fit in that one then. It was more the build-up part.
Also, this Ruby Sightstone from Raze, not really getting the value just yet.
No, I mean, you need some of these, like one of the problems with it is, as a support, getting to 2 items is actually not very easy. It often takes you like a good 30 minutes. So yeah, you might have to build up for it, and now they're gonna get dove.
Yeah, tower falls down, Barrel knocks Raze into the rest of G2, and Perks, with Expect, pick up their 8th kill. Parang jumps in only to run away. Raze has lost his life. Betsy will die quickly thereafter. Double kill for Expect. No one could have anticipated that one. The 306 Shen. Parang goes golden before Trick sends him to grayscale. Baron is broken open. G2 have got a 5-on-2 in 35 seconds. They may even look to finish. There's no real pressure or wave clear here outside of that deadly flourish. Steelback is backing away. The rest of G2 are onto the Nexus turret. The first one falls. The second's being knocked on. A clean, calculated, clinical performance from G2 Esports. We'll be finishing shortly, and they go 1-0 in the series.
Definitely slow and steady wins the race. G2 was never under pressure in this game.
Nope.
There was never a moment where we were like, all right, now ROCCAT will strike and they're gonna win. No, never mind.
Look, I like seeing a clean, well-executed, well-played team comp and game.
This is what you need to see when number 1
Yes.
plays against number 10.
I concur.
Every time. Like, you need to see these very clean games where they're never under pressure, and you can see them follow the game plan, execute it really well, and you can see a big difference in skill.
And you just have to, you also have to look at the draft. I mean, was it a last pick Lissandra coming in for Parang? He dealt 4,200 damage to champions. For context, the Shen, who built full tank, double that, 8,700. Parang's Lissandra had no impact in that game whatsoever.
No, I mean, in this game here, I'm just looking at the damage dealt as well. Like, Raze on Thresh is actually just 50% under Alessandra. Dealt half the amount of damage as a Thresh support, who died, by the way, almost every fight. But it's a problem. First of all, you get lane swapped on with the Lissandra. And then, because G2, remember that when they swapped the Ryze into the Lissandra lane, Lissandra was level 6 and Ryze was level 9. So Lissandra's like, well, I can't lane. She has to set a tower. Ryze literally runs at her every single time, and she can never TP anywhere. She can never set up a fight. And we said it, Parang on this Lissandra, in order to make it work, needs to have insane TPs in the mid game. He was never allowed to do it.
Nope.
And therefore, it didn't work.
The few times we did see, it was from G2. We've got a replay here where Expect jumps into a team fight in the top lane. He uses the Stand United. But this was a mistake from Betsy, I feel. Going very aggressive very early on.
But this is actually after all these steps you get to now execute it. Either you dive Betsy on the tower, you set up Baron, or in this case, you just have Betsy overextend. And we mentioned this, you know, the Shen ulti compared to a TP channel. Big difference in how fast you appear. And they're just not strong enough, ROCCAT, now, because they're getting caught kind of one by one at first, and then they get chased down. And this is where the game is already over.
It is.
There's absolutely nothing ROCCAT can do at this point. They tried like one last team fight, and once that didn't work, well, G2 are showing why they are the best team, and it's, as we talked about, what they have to show.
Yes.
And as a reward, Perks gets a banana.
So that's a guaranteed 1 point for G2, which means they will retain sole possession of first place. They put more distance away from third. We've got another replay, the game-ending fight. There was 1 or 2 more. But now, instead of maybe breaking down the fight, now we start looking, was there individual performances that stood out this game?
I think a guy like Trek is always fantastic to watch.
Yeah.
Another great game from him in this one. But otherwise, it's team effort, this one.
Yeah.
Like, it's setting up everyone else for success. And that's really one of the most underrated things in League of Legends. Like, people are always like, oh, this player's good. Put him on any team, and I'm sure he's going to play well. No, that's not how it works. Like, you need your team always to set you up. And in a game like this, each individual player looked really good because they were consistently setting each other up. They had full pressure.
I'm about to set you up for a player of the game question. We will reveal that later. For now, though, let's take a quick look at the action over on EU LCS 2, where Giants are taking on H2K.
Because it gives you the early armor penetration. It gives you a lot of flat AD, which is exactly what a Draven wants. It reminds you back of when Draven used to go for the early Bloodthirster, just because you want as much AD as possible. But I mean, it's still nice. The only thing that you lack is the cooldown reduction. And I mean, on Draven, that's not even that bad. You even gain movement speed from the ability. So I do quite like it as a first item. And we'll have to see. I imagine he will go for something like the Ghost Blade next. We'll have to see. Given the nerfs, it seems like Freeze doesn't put as much value on it anymore.
Top tower will finally go down to H2K. Sunstar, oh, yep, okay. Knight comes into the top lane just to try and defend. Maxwell was there as well, but wasn't able to make that happen. So H2K, 3 towers now, taking all of the outer towers. Freezer's almost up to 500 stacks. And when Dravens have a lot of stacks, it makes me incredibly nervous. It's just like you're walking down like a dark alley at night with like wads of cash in your pockets, and it's like, just makes me very anxious.
Wait, for the Draven or?
Yeah, for the Draven.
Oh, because you don't want him to lose all those stacks?
Exactly.
Ah, I see.
That's a lot of gold to lose.
That's fair.
That's a lot of gold. That's like 500 gold.
It's like going into the wilderness with your Abyssal Whip, you know? It's not something you can really afford to do.
Yep. I don't like it. He needs to get a kill. Or at the very least, at least if he dies, then I won't feel as bad anymore, because then it's just like, at least that moment of anxiety is over.
Yeah, I mean, how satisfying would it be to walk into the wilderness, to then find an opponent in full barrows, having a God Sword too, just killing them with your Abbey Whip. It's exactly the same principle.
I have absolutely no idea what you're saying, but I agree. Yeah.
You didn't play RuneScape?
No.
Wow, you missed out on a childhood.
Yeah, apparently I did. It just never appealed to me. Giants are all grouped up. What's the collective term for Giants?
Whoa,
That's
just
what I
hang on a
want to
second.
know
Look at the collective. God damn it. Look at the potential flank. They're immediately going to disengage. Move instantly straight to the dragon.
A mountain of giants, perhaps? Such as the mountain dragon here for H2K, which will be a free take. As you said earlier, fantastic prediction videos.
Cheers, mate.
No problem. It's H2K. Easy first dragon. 19 minutes in, though. It's so rare we see like a 19-minute first dragon take when it's mountain dragon. I would expect that from a cloud dragon, but not from you.
Well, H2K clearly in the lead for now, and Yankos seems to be showing up Maxlow.
Well, I mean, Jankos has been on fire the last few weeks, so not really a big surprise. I still think Giants are, maybe not in this game, but then the next game can definitely bounce back.
Yeah,
They have been very good lately.
They seem to be on form. We'll see if they can pull it out. For now, on our stream, though, G2 Esports has 1 point already over ROCCAT. We'll see if they can make it that clean sweep and secure 3. But before we go, let's hear what champions our European LCS players wish that they could pick.